Now, highly anticipated Netflix drama Scoop is set for release this Friday, depicting a dramatised version of Prince Andrew's 2019 bombshell Newsnight interview.
Well, the series, starring Gillian Anderson as Emily Maitlis, takes viewers behind the scenes as the BBC tried to set up the interview. Here is a taster.
The allegations surrounding Jeffrey Epstein include his friend Prince Andrew.
Sam, let's start pushing the palace. I want it for us.
You're chasing a story that we're never going to get.
This is the work. My job is booking the people we can't just call up.
Hello, everyone.
You have a problem that won't go away.
We're looking at options. But there is a red line.
If I do an interview, the question is, why you?
With respect, you know how people see you.
Spell it out.
Whew, that looks very exciting indeed. Well, to give us an insight into that unforgettable interview, we are joined now by photographer Mark Harrison, who was there when it took place. Mark, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
What was going through your mind when you were watching that interview?
I was aghast, like everyone else was aghast, I suppose. But because it was live, I didn't know what was going to come next. So I had my hand over my mouth at one point.
I'm sure you did, but can we just go back? Because you got a phone call, didn't you? And you didn't know what this assignment was, but you were told to polish your shoes.
Yes, I was told to wear shiny shoes. I didn't know, I didn't know anything at all. Literally, I was about to turn the job down. I had a dishwasher coming, believe it or not.
Of course.
And that seemed quite important, so I nearly turned it down. And even when I took it, I still didn't know what I was doing. In fact, I didn't know what I was doing until I'm standing in the palace, outside the door, and I interrupt my host to say, "Excuse me, but I really don't know why I'm here. I've no idea. Who am I photographing and why? What's the story?" And then they said, "Oh, it's the Duke of York." So, and then I had to think, the Duke of York, is that Andrew or Edward? So it's me double-checking and also thinking, why? What are they doing? What's the story? So trying to get it together in my head before I walked in the room.
So obviously you were witnessing what was happening there between Andrew and Emily Maitlis, but what was going on behind the scenes? What was the atmosphere like between the producers and the crew that day?
It was tense. I mean, not in terms of Andrew, but in terms of the crew and the production, it was tense. But we were told to carry on filming regardless of what happened. In fact, there was talk that he might even walk. So we were just told, shoot, and let's just see what happens.
So they knew potentially how explosive this was going to be going into
They
it,
did, I didn't,
walk.
but I'm picking it all up as it goes along.
But in many ways, they played quite a clever game, hadn't they? So Andrew arrived early. Didn't he then take you on a tour of the palace?
Not of the palace. He took me over. He took us on the crew on a sort of tour down the marble hallway and talked about the paintings and the columns.
So very relaxed.
Very relaxed, yeah.
And then Emily Maitlis arrived very late, just before the interview began. Do you think that was on purpose?
I thought so at the time. I have no idea whether it was on purpose or not, but it seemed like a very astute thing to do, to remove all the small talk and to make sure it was just a sort of engagement based on the detail, not on any sort of friendship or any charm or anything. It was perfect.
Yeah. So the interview starts and you're witnessing this interview, and then you start to watch what he's doing and those questions, and there must have been a moment when you suddenly thought, this isn't going very well for him.
Well, in fact, it wasn't even going very well before it started, because they had left in all the breakfast at the back of the shot. So I actually stood up before the interview started and just told everyone to stop. One, because I needed my pictures, and two, because they'd left the breakfast in the shot. So everyone fell about laughing, including Prince Andrew. And
so you were the icebreaker.
It was an icebreaker. Yeah, when the thing got going, my eye line just remained fixed on the cameraman. I was standing just behind one of the cameramen, and I could see the other one on the other side, and I was just fixed on catching his eye. And eyebrows went up and hands went across mouths.
I was going to say, what was the point at which, do you remember, that you put your
Pizza Express.
Pizza Express woking?
Yeah, Pizza Express woking. That was a moment, and I thought, then that's a headline. And then another one came, and it was like, oh, that's a headline. I certainly didn't know it was going to be a headline 5 years on, but...
But here we are.
But here we are.
He thought that the interview went rather well, didn't he?
Yes.
How did he express that?
We took a final picture going back down the marble corridor. They used it at the beginning of the interview, but we shot it at the end, and I'm running backwards taking the photograph.
Is this the photograph we can see up on the screen to your left-hand side there?
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm reversing at high speed. You can see you can see him almost
So that's
running
actually
there.
after the interview.
That's after the interview.
Wow.
He's smiling. Everything's good.
So look at Emily Maitlis' face.
She knows.
So a picture paints 1,000 words. She knows that interview is a bombshell.
She was tense at the end. All my photographs taken after the interview. There's no smiles. There's nothing. It's all tense from her. And in fact, during that photograph, I'm trying to stop them run. You can see he's almost running. I'm backing away. We end up in a huddle at the end of the corridor, a bizarre huddle with myself, Emily, and Prince Andrew. At which point, he says to her, "Well, that was just terrific, wasn't it? That was wonderful. That went really well." And she pauses and she says, "Yes, sir. That
Did
was."
she say yes?
Yeah, she said, "Yes, sir." That was
It went really well for her.
That was
a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of tumbleweed moment as I'm squashed between the two of them. And eventually he says, "Ah, yes, the park, New York, the park." And he picks up on her little gag.
her mention of his walk in the park with Jeffrey Epstein.
But at that moment I thought, I can't believe you thought this went well, because the rest of us are all catching eyes and I'm told to just get out and get it to press.
Do you photograph a lot of royals? Or was this the first time?
I've done Queen Camilla for a magazine, but no, not really. It's not really. I'm a celebrity portrait photographer. I do mostly high-profile media people, but I've not done this. And I normally work with lights and assistants and setting up, and this is just one of those ones where you just have to kind of make the best of what you got.
And which side booked you?
BBC booked me.
BBC booked you, OK.
Yeah.
But
they booked me the last minute. A friend of mine couldn't do it, and he passed me on. And I had...
And you were waiting for the dishwasher.
How does he feel about that now, having passed the job on to you?
I sent him a bottle of champagne
Oh,
yesterday.
good.
So you leave the palace with this photograph. You must have thought, I better get this developed.
The producer said, "You've got 2 hours. You've just seen a little piece of history. Get out and get it to me." And I felt about as under pressure as I've ever done in all my years to get it sorted, delivered, and to wait to see what happened the following day.
And really quickly, there's someone playing you actually in this Netflix drama. We'll obviously have to wait and see if that becomes part of the story that
I'm not sure. I think I'm a very, very, very minor part in it, but I understand there is a terrific actor, Gavin Spokes, who's playing me.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'll wait to see it like the rest of us.
Extraordinary. And actually, those pictures are beautiful, I must just say, about the lighting, the way you've constructed them, everything about them. When you look at them now and you see this is a moment in history, how does that make you feel?
It makes me very grateful for the opportunity. I just have to treat everything like it's going to be the most important thing I ever do. So,
well, there's a lesson to you. Never stay in to wait for a dishwasher delivery. Always say yes to the job.
I totally agree. Really, so nice to meet you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Mark. Really brilliant. Thank you very much to Mark there.